everybody. Welcome to another edition of Steel and Whiskey. I'm Doug Evans.
And I'm Michelle McCarthy.
Today we have Stacy Bauer with us. He's a customer. We're going to just talk to him about his business and how he uses SDS2, kind of the work he does, and what we're drinking. So today I'm drinking a whiskey called Blackened. It is a rye whiskey that is matured in a black brandy cask, and it's outstanding.
Excellent. I am drinking the Middleton Very Rare. It's a delicious gift from Doug that I've held on to for the last year. I'm finishing it off.
And it's very rare, but very good.
All right, and we've got Stacy Bauer here from Steel Solutions with us. So Stacy, can you tell us a little bit about your business?
Yes. Started my business in 2011 out here, Billings, Montana. Worked for a fabricator here in town for 10 years before that, using SDS the whole time. So I've been an SDS user since probably 99. Started out on my own, 2011. Pretty much, you know, it's kind of when the economy was starting to come back after 2008, 9, 10. Everyone, of course, told me I was crazy. And anyways, I didn't listen to them. Do whatever I could do. Any kind of projects, miscellaneous rail, stairs, trash enclosures, whatever.
Well, you've really grown.
What's that?
You've really grown from the one,
Yeah.
on your own. You've really grown in the last almost 10 years.
Yeah, this is in my 10th year right now. Went from the 1 station to 14 stations now of SDS. Pretty much one a year at least, couple, sometimes two a year.
Yeah. We like the two. Tell me about your customer base, like where are they located, how many, kind of what's your footprint of work?
Yeah, we're working for anywhere from 20 to 30 different fabricators. Obviously not all at one time. Usually at one time, probably 6 or 7 at the same time. They're located anywhere from Minnesota, Oregon, Washington, North Dakota, Lincoln. Actually, not in Lincoln, Grand Forks, I believe. Pretty much, you know, Midwest on over to the West, Northern Pacific area.
And having done all that detailing for the fabricators, I know a lot of you've done industrial, commercial, Midwest, West. Kind of, what are some of the uniqueness or differences you've seen from the different parts of the country and different types of work?
Yeah. So when I worked for the fabricator, we had done most of our work in California and highly seismic areas. So SDS, we basically did everything per whatever the engineer said. Whereas you come over to the Midwest, Minnesota area, Iowa, Nebraska, and you can pretty much let SDS do what it wants. The engineers, a lot of times the buildings aren't even designed or calced out, engineered out. And I have provided engineering calcs out of SDS to the engineer of record to review for the project.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's worked pretty well on those. It seems like the engineers are okay with it, and they run their checks just straight from the design calcs from SDS. And you know, for me, it's just a click of the button, really, and export and send them off.
What are some of the like fabrication different? I mean, 20, 30 fabricating customers. You know, I've said before, there's while they're all fabricators, there's nobody's the same. They all have different requirements. And so what are some of the unique requirements or things that you get involved with providing outside of just a 2D representation of the members? What else do you get into and provide?
Yeah, so, you know, some of our fabricators are not AISC certified. Those are challenging at times because they don't really follow the rules and tracking, and they'll work off of approval drawings or whatnot. And, you know, it's all on them. And we really don't like to work for too many of those shops because sometimes it's not the best organizational company. And a lot of times they don't even have CNC. They might sub it out. We might not even provide CNC to them at all. They might still be cutting it or torching it or whatever, shears. Whereas some of the larger fabricators are pretty much up to date with all the advanced equipment of cutting and bending and beam lines and etc. So we'll provide pretty much anything and everything SDS will put out. Fabtrol, CNC. I had one customer, it took me 2 weeks to get their CNC set up to their machines because they really use their machine they like laid out the entire stair stringer on their machine and scribed every line all the way down. And that was challenging, but yeah, 2 weeks, we finally got it figured out and moved on.
So how do you know how to onboard a fabricator? So you get a new how do you know what to tell them to provide or how you can provide it? Like how do you figure that out?
Most of the time they let me know. They tell me what they need. And if we weren't using SDS, maybe just using some other software that doesn't provide the CNC files and stuff, they might not even use us. So pretty much up front, if I get a new customer and we talk back and forth, I try to start off with small projects just so we can get to know each other, and because sometimes it works both ways. It's not always the fabricator saying, no, we don't want to use you. Sometimes it's us saying, no, we don't want to work with you, depending on what they need and what they want and requirements that they require.
Sure. So you're a team of 14 now. Are you guys all in Montana or are you spread out?
So we have 2 locations, one here just west of Billings and one just south of Missoula. Those are my 2 physical locations. And then I have one employee detailer, modeler. He's been doing it for 10, 12 years, and he's actually working out of his camper. Anywhere from Wisconsin to Missoula. He grew up in Wisconsin, so he goes back to hang out with his family and stuff at times, and then comes on over. He has friends here north of Missoula that he spends the summer over here. He told me it's pretty humid over there in Wisconsin, so he tries to stay over here during the summer.
You ever detailed on a boat?
On a boat, no.
I've had a couple customers do that.
I'm trying to figure out how to work while I go hunting because it's archery season right now for elk, and I just can't take off the whole week and a half. But I was like, man, if I could figure out how to get my laptop up here, I could stay here and just work remotely. But there's no service, so.
So how does that remote working? With SDS2, how do you do it? How do you keep the team connected?
So SDS Cloud. We have everyone running through SDS Cloud, and basically we log in every morning and everyone can see everyone's computer. Same with the guy working remotely in Wisconsin. He's got his own account, log in, and it's just like you're working on your own computer and we can see each other. We use Bluebeam. I've used Bluebeam for probably 12 years now, probably the first year or 2 that it came out. And so we use sessions. Works just like SDS, so everybody can work together in the same set. You don't have piles and piles of paper with everyone's own sets, own markups, own comments. And then another useful tool that we've used is Teams, Microsoft Teams. That I was looking for something to use, and then realized that came with our 365 subscription, and it works great. You can share your screens, you can take control. I can show them stuff in SDS, I can show them in Bluebeam, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, we use that here as well, and it's pretty neat just to even just fathom that you've got people all over the place and some mobile. that you're all in the same model at the same time. I mean, it's just, 30
Yeah.
years ago, one fabricated a lot of
So how do you manage everybody in the same model at the same time?
Well, it depends on the size of the job. We got a job right now that's the Billings Airport has a terminal expansion going on that's roughly around 1,000 tons. And so pretty big job, and it's phased out. And you basically, I know each detailer and what they're capable of. And so I just, place them accordingly. And, you're stuck in this area. This is all you. You're over here. You're over here. And when we get to a point where we have some guys that are modelers, they're not just modelers, but they can do everything. And so modeling is obviously the most difficult part of SDS. And so I'll keep those guys modeling once we get to that stage, and then get the less experienced guys to start the 2D process, and get going on that. And then usually when we get done modeling, I'll get some guy on erection plans, cut and views, and fieldwork details and all that stuff.
So are you managing it? I mean, are you actually one of the detailers cranking out the drawings and stuff? Are you kind of overview and kind of doing a comprehensive view of things, or what's your role in it?
Yeah, right now, a little bit of everything, mostly managing, checking, keeping guys on task, scheduling, making sure fabricators are getting what they need. But when I have guys all busy and you get field calls or shop calls or whatever, I'll just jump in and take care of it myself. It's kind of fun since I don't get to do it too much anymore.
And again, being able to have people all over the place, but you can jump in at any time and get to the latest information is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Stacy. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Go ahead, Michelle.
I was going to ask, when you break your team apart, are you breaking that apart by sequence, or are you kind of doing it by the skill of your modelers that's saying, hey, you're good at structural, you're good at miscellaneous, you're good at connections?
So my end goal is to have everybody to be able to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you just started, obviously I'm not going to say, hey, go model a stair. That's not going to happen. So we'll try to get, obviously schedules and size of projects dictate who does what. But a lot of times you can buy yourself some time if you can just get out that anchor bolt plan, and contractor will leave you alone for a little while and you can regroup and figure out where everyone's going to go. We will sequence out buildings depending on the size and duration of the project. But yeah, there's only a handful of guys that all have like set up the model, set up SDS. But I try to incorporate everybody into setting up sheet outlines. We've also created detailing checklists and everything for the startup of the project. So everybody's capable of doing that. You just need experience. So then, yeah, we'll have modelers and then 2D guys. I got a couple guys that are really good 2D, and then modeling, they're getting better. If we've got time, I'll let them go ahead and model.
Coach them up, Bill.
If we're out of 2D stuff to do.
So this is an interesting question. I'm curious for the answer. So subcontract detailers, especially that group of people in our industry, are excellent communicators of timeline. So when you're given a change, or you guys are squeezed all the time. Hey, I need the drawings tomorrow. I need the drawings Thursday, and it's just not possible. Like, hey, the information and changes you gave me and the timeline you need it isn't going to happen. Like, so how do you communicate that to your customers? Well, how do you do that?
Honestly, I mean, I've been doing it for long enough now to where if you lie and try to, tell them something you can't do, you're just going to look bad in the end. you know, we'll try everything we can to meet these schedules, but, you know, it's just not physically possible. We're not going to work 24/7. We all have lives. Yeah, so I'm just up front and I just provide them the best possible schedule we can do. Sometimes, in order to help out with the guys that we do have, I can bring over 5 guys, whereas maybe it just happened today, actually. Not such a big project, but of course they wanted it last week, 2 weeks ago. And one guy did this project, and I just got another guy on it with him, and they finished it out today. And I checked it, and they submitted. So, but yeah, other than like, hey, we can't make it, I just tell them their best answer, because a lot of times, yeah, that's what they want, but they know they're probably not even gonna install it by then either. You know, you'll do everything you can do and you get it done, and then you find out they didn't even erect it, or you know, the erector couldn't even be out there for a month or something, and so you went through all that hassle for nothing. So most of the time, if you tell them the schedule, they can schedule their other guys around. They're not going to be as mad as if you sat there and said, yeah, I'll have it to you Monday, and it's 2 Mondays later.
I've seen two things. One is I can get you the drawings. They'll be half done, but I can get it to you that time. And the other thing is that detail would tell me a long time ago, it's the construction triangle, right? You can have time, you can have quality, and you can have price. You get to pick two.
Yeah.
You know, and so I always thought that was interesting, because I learn a lot from some, especially some contract detailers, because they're always pinched for that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, every day. And you know, I'm used to it. You get the younger guys that, you know, they gripe a little bit, but it's like, yeah, it's nothing different, you know. Hey guys, we're getting paid and you got a job. I keep telling them, hey, when it's slow, that's when you want to worry.
So when you're on SBS2 Cloud, how easy is it for you to flex your manpower back and forth between projects to maybe meet one of these tight deadlines?
Yeah, just knowing who can do what, and work in the schedules. And really with the cloud, anybody can work on anything at any time. So it's really as if we're all in one office. The communication means not being able to see each other face to face and stuff like that it's different, but it's not that important all the time, really. So just working the schedules, working the guys, making sure everyone's busy, working on stuff, which we are. Every guy's busy every day. And I shouldn't say guy, we do have some female detailers as well. So detailers, I should say.
have you ever gone to a shop or the field with a laptop and logged in and shown an erector or shown a fabricator the model status or something like that, or just had them log into the cloud?
You know, not really. I mean, I have, but I just had a contractor the other day. Actually, is the contractor on the airport, and I told him, I said, hey, you can go get the viewer. He was using a model, Revit model from the engineer, I believe, and he said our grids were there's an angle kick, and it was 22.44 degrees. Well, in their model is that rounded up, so over 300 feet we're off about an inch and a half. And they decide, you know, we went by design drawings, and they said, well, inch and a half's not too bad, we'll go with your model. And so I told them, it's like, hey, get the viewer and I can come over and show you, and you can do all this stuff yourself. And honestly, I don't think he did it, but
We're seeing that explode. They really are. Just people using the model.
Mm-hmm.
And I might just interrupt the programming, because I've had 3 customers do these. So we've been doing this series of Steel and Whiskey, and 3 customers have been kind of dogging me because Michelle beats me in drinking.
Oh, you
I can't this time. So.
Do I really finish before you usually?
Yes, always. We'll continue on. Go ahead.
I can't even go anywhere more for that. Thanks, Doug. Do you ever use the tracking tool on the STS2 Cloud, the product activity tracking? Do you dig into that at all?
What is it again?
They've got a tracking tool. You
Yeah,
can't
like
just-
time tracking. So
Yeah.
you track your time, whether you're spending your time in the drawing editor and or in the model, and you can see what your employees are doing, what time they're spending on it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about now.
Or
No,
better.
I right now I haven't used it.
Mhm.
I do have, we have a time, or the accounting company that I use, it's called Time Clock Plus, and so everybody clocks in, and we change our job numbers, and we have it set up to where you're 2D for approval, 2D for fab, modeling, direction plans, whatever you're doing. So I can run reports out of there as well, but I haven't used the tracker yet, but I do know of it.
Mhm. What about the backups or I think they also
Installs.
do the installs for you.
Yeah.
Have you had to mess around with any of that, or is it all kind of taken care of with STS2 Cloud?
It's all taken care of, so that was definitely because it was a learning process every time we'd go get a new update. I'd have to, because you only do it once a year, once every 2 years or something, or maybe twice a year, but still that's not that much. And so it's computer by computer, so yeah, with STS Cloud, the guys behind the scene, they take care of it for you, and we don't have to worry about it.
So a couple off the cuff questions. So give me a detailing lesson, a unique detailing lesson that you wouldn't think that you've learned in the last, you've been detailing a long time. Something you'd tell one of your guys, a good lesson for detail. And I'll have a follow-up question.
A good lesson.
Yeah.
I usually tell them right off the bat, hey, you messed something up, just tell me the truth, because I'll figure it out eventually. And usually right away I can figure it out. And I was always told too at the shop that I worked at there in Billings was, hey, if we can catch the mistake here in the shop before it goes to the field, that's what we want. So, be honest, let somebody know, don't just hide and be like, oh, I hope nobody finds out, but they'll find out.
That's a good life lesson. Two
Mhm.
mistakes doesn't correct two bad decisions doesn't make a great decision. And give me what's the most interesting project you've been on?
Interesting. Ooh.
Unique. It's not standard, not real, not easy industrial, right? What's something that's been there's always that job number you'll never forget. What was that one?
I do like the Shields project just because, I go there a lot and I can look up and see it, and there's a Ferris wheel right in the middle of it, and
Right.
you can take the Ferris wheel and see everything I did. Shouldn't say me, all of us did at the time.
That's long span, obviously. Those buildings usually long span where they have trusses.
Yeah, they were trusses. They were fabricated trusses, nothing
Right.
from Volcraft or nothing. They're all angle iron and
Angle, not wide flange, they're angled truss.
angles. Yeah, I think they're 6x6s. Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever submitted anything for a solid steel competition?
I should.
You should, Stacy.
So my buddy,
Support.
because I'm always too busy, which is good,
That's a
but
good problem. That's a good problem.
my buddy works, so he used to work for me, or not for me, but with me here in, when I worked at a fabricator here in Billings, and he works over in North Dakota now, and he submitted his last year and he won. And so I always give him crap because I'm like, I could beat that, no problem. And so, yeah, I should submit. And again, this year was pretty hectic with everything. And I get the email and I had like 3 days to submit, and there's no way I could get to it.
We're going to open the solid steel earlier, I think in April next year. So you got a little bit more time.
Okay.
So plan what projects you got going, and we'll make that process really easy for you. And you get a tablet if you win too.
Did you watch the summit at all this year?
Did I watch what? The summit? Yeah. Yeah, we watched all of it. I made, well, I shouldn't say all of it. I picked out the webinars that I felt were the best for my guys and stuff.
You didn't make them, they wanted to, right? They wanted to watch them.
What's that?
You didn't make your people to watch them, they wanted to watch them.
Correct.
So what was the best takeaway you got? What was one or two things you learned from it?
Well, a lot of it. I mean, a lot of it I knew, but my guys, and they, of course, hearing it from me, they just think, oh, you're just the boss. No, and then for them to hear it, it was funny because I was over my other office in Stevensville that day, and I was just talking to these guys and telling them some things, and the gentleman from Delta, forget his name, on being a power user, right? And he started saying a few things, and it was just crazy because I just looked over and was like, didn't I just tell you that this morning? So for them to hear somebody else doing the same stuff, and really it's not that hard to be a power user. It's you just got to do it.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys watch the Bluebeam session?
What's that?
Did you watch the Bluebeam session?
Yes. So I know I used to work with Nathan as a subcontractor when he was working for another company, and then he worked over in Billings for a little bit, and that was before the layoffs and stuff in 2008. And then Nathan started his company a little bit after me, 3-4 years after. So we used Bluebeam at that previous fabricator way back then. So we've known sessions, and I made my guys, because some of the guys have never used the Bluebeam, never used sessions. They use Bluebeam but no sessions, and so we watched that one. It was interesting on some of the stuff Nathan was doing. For me, we do about 70% of that stuff. So it's really cool, but we just don't have time to go that in depth into what he's doing. And I hope it works out for him and he gets paid for that effort and gets more work and stuff for that. But for us, a little much. But it did help a lot. The Bluebeam one, the power user, and then the stair and guardrail. So, I mean, right off the bat, congrats to SDS. The stair and guardrail has been a great area that you guys have focused on, because I remember the old days of miscellaneous members and pick it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was tough. What would you want to see from next year's summit? Is there something you're just itching to learn about SDS2, or how to do better, or teach your guys something?
Hopefully we get to have one first off, and not virtually. I think that was the part that I've been talking with David and yourself, and of meeting these other people and other connections, and being able to have that aspect. But time will tell, I guess, at what SDS continues throughout the year. But as for what you guys have already covered this year, it's good. I mean, we're moving in the right direction and making things better and becoming more productive in the end is what it's all about.
Certainly an industry of connections, no question.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time.
Yeah, we should wrap it up here.
Yeah, we should wrap it up.
Got to catch up my drinking with Doug.
I win today.
Thank you so much for joining us, Stacy.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate the support, continued use of SDS2 and all the great work you do. So take care, guys.
Yes, thank you. You too.